So financial experts, and I believe all of us in the room, we all are unanimous on one fact, that investing regularly in mutual funds is one of the smartest ways to create wealth and, of course, to meet our life goals. More and more investors today are taking the mutual funds route to realize their dreams and their financial aspirations. However, the markets have seen a lot of volatility recently. Events like the US-China trade war and the coronavirus outbreak are, of course, important factors which would influence the markets basis how it all plays out in the end. And then there is also the impact of various tightening norms undertaken by SEBI over the last 1 year to protect investor from credit risk that arises out of defaults by borrowers. They include a cap of 20% that liquid funds can invest in a single sector and stricter exit load guidelines, among many others. What we're going to witness next, ladies and gentlemen, is our first panel discussion that will talk about all of this and a lot more. It's my absolute pleasure to invite on stage our esteemed panelists. Please join me in welcoming them with a very warm round of applause. Srinivas Kunte, Director of Content, CFA Institute. A. Balasubramanian, Managing Director and CEO, Aditya Birla Asset Management Company. Navneet Panot, CIO, SBI Mutual Funds. N.S. Venkatesh, CEO, Association of Mutual Funds in India. And Swaroop Monty, CEO, Mirai Asset. And this panel, ladies and gentlemen, will be moderated by Kailash Kulkarni, CEO, L&T Mutual Funds. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a very warm round of applause for our first mutual fund panel this afternoon. Mr. Kulkarni, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And as you can see, we have a really high-powered panel out here. People who've been veterans in the industry. So for me to be moderating this, it's a great honor. Before I really start asking questions to the participants, just wanted to state some facts. And we talked about changes in the last 1 year which SEBI has done. Honestly, the changes which SEBI has been doing have been over the last few years. And possibly this is one industry which has weathered every change that has been put in front of us. Every few years, we say that, oh, this is a big change, this is going to be a big disruption to the industry, but this industry has only grown from strength to strength. I don't know how many of you recollect, but in 2004, which is just about 16 years ago, this industry was all of 1.5 lakh crores. And then in 2008, you saw that industry become 5 lakh crores. And 2015, which is just about 5 years ago, it reached 10 lakh crores. But today it's at about nearly 28 lakh crores. And the equity component has also grown primarily in the last 5 to 7 years substantially. But we have one person out here, Bala, who's been the veteran in this industry. He possibly predates what we call the private sector industry. Started his career with GIC Mutual Fund. And I'd like to ask you, Bala, I mean, you have seen so many changes. Forget about the ones which we are talking about in the recent past. And yet you have seen this industry only grow from strength to strength. Are you really worried with these last 1 year changes? And how do you look at this industry going ahead?
Yeah. Thanks, Kailash. So of course, sometimes I jokingly say that regulation came in front of me. When I joined JSC Mutual Fund, SEBI was just started actually, and there was no regulation per se. Most of the time, I also believe that regulation is actually the outcome of what we have been doing. It's not the outcome of what SEBI thought, therefore regulation came. Why I am specifically saying this is, in the last 25 years, we all as money managers or fund houses, we have our own way of running the funds, and we have your own principles. And in the earlier session, he talked about OITM and other stuff. So we had similar stuff starting in 94, and then we suddenly realized fixed income market is growing, but how do you value the securities? Suddenly the questions were asked. Then we said the best way to value securities is current yield methodology. Then we said, no, this is not the wrong way to do. Then we said OITM. So that's why I think what evolved. So when you start doing these kind of practices, then suddenly regulation wakes up and then says that, okay, the size is growing, then we need to look at some of the practices that are being adopted by money managers, but this should become a rule. So every time that has happened like this only. So the last 1 year, when I did the AMFI Mutual Fund Summit as a chairman in 2017, I think there was an opening remark which came from chairman that he appreciated the industry. Then he also put in a word that he just put one line that industry is growing so big, therefore we need to look at the size benefit has to go to the investors. Then suddenly he started thinking about the scale benefit should reach out to the investors. Therefore, they thought about higher the size, lower the expenses, lower the size, higher the expenses, mainly to give more money in the hands of people of lower size, to do the hard work to expand the market. And once you reach certain size, give the benefit to the investors. So that's the way I think the progressive regulation happens. The way I see is regulation, last 1 year regulation, my view is not still worried because we are still talking about last 25 years, opportunity very large. So despite we having now grown to 26 lakh crore or 28 lakh crore, we still say only 4 crore investors are there. Even within the 4 crore investors, sometimes if you want to be too pessimistic, you can say we have only 2.5 crores unique investors. If you want to be optimistic, we can say 7 crore investors. But still the fact of the matter is the underpenetration is still large. We are still scratching our surface in the smaller markets. Therefore, however the regulation comes in, will only, in my view, would expand the market. Mutual fund as an industry is now gaining the institutional phase. I mean, earlier it used to be a small industry size, it becoming a prominent in the eyes of investors. Therefore, despite all the regulation coming in, I think growth will remain permanent.
I agree with you. I think the size of the industry makes regulators now start looking at this industry like they would do for banking or life insurance. And clearly, they have seen that this has become a large enough industry to have rules and regulations around. When we look at some of the rules and regulations, although the most talked about has been the cut in the TER, there have been far more progressive reforms in terms of trying to grow the business earlier beyond the B15 cities, and then they changed it to B30 cities. They introduced categorization of funds so people don't get confused. It becomes simpler for a common man to understand. And there have been a slew of other positive regulation from a customer perspective. Mr. Venkatesh, you are from AMFI, and clearly you interact a lot with the regulators. How does the regulator really look at all these changes, and what are they doing to make the system far more transparent, easier to enter and grow this segment? Or do you really believe that this is putting in shackles and restrictions in terms of the growth of the industry?
I would say that the regulator has two roles to play. That is, one is relating to ensuring that the safety of the market, the integrity of the market, the place where the investors are coming in, that particular thing has to be completely safe and secure for the investor. So the investor protection is the key there. The second one that he has to look for is the development of the markets. So both these things he has to balance it out. And if you look at the regulations that have come in over the last 1 year, most of the regulations which have come in the last 1 year is relating to the investor protection and also giving the benefit to the investor by, let us say, the TER reduction which had happened, which was passing on the economies of scale, like what Bala was trying to say. That economies of scale is getting passed on, and the investor protection by means of various tightening measures which had happened after the credit crisis which we saw, enabled that maybe the disclosure norms becomes much more transparent, the exposure norms gets tightened. So these are all in favor of the investor, so that the investor is given a sort of a feeling that yes, he is coming into an industry which is very well regulated, and the regulator is on top of the things. So that gives the confidence for the investor to come and invest into the mutual funds. And the B15, B30, they progressed it from B15 to B30 and gave that additional commissions from B30 because they saw that B15 had expanded to the B30 where the money was coming in. So they said that let me now take it to T30 and then B30, that sort of thing. So beyond 30, they wanted to give the additional incentive for people to work hard and reach the tier 3, tier 4 sort of cities and market the mutual fund product to the ultimate end user, and that is where maybe they have given this thing. So I would say that the regulator has played a very balanced and a nuanced role when keeping in at the forefront the investor protection as the key message that you would like to give.
Navneet, you, apart from being a veteran in this industry, you also belong to a group which is the largest bank in India. And clearly, this is a bank which today, in terms of mutual fund distribution, has grown from strength to strength. Do you see these measures which SEBI has put out bring far more confidence in the customers, especially those who come from smaller areas? And how do you see the growth in the next few years, not just 1 year? Because there are clear headwinds that are there in the initial parts on the equity side. But do you see the growth substantially growing over the next 3 to 5 year time frame? And also if you could give it from a SBI Bank perspective as how the second tier towns are looking at investment in our business.
Sure. So rarely you go in these events and they put, the organizations put these kind of tight belts on your hands. So I don't know whether this was symbolic. But on a more serious note, Bala talked about the evolution of the industry along with the regulation, and he said he started the career before the regulator got set up, and then I had the opportunity of working with him. But our SBI mutual fund story is also very, very similar. So got set up in 1987, and then I have seen the whole evolution of the industry, the regulation. And as Bala rightly mentioned, there have been those ups and downs. The industry has witnessed the boom and bust of 1992, the boom and bust of 2000, the boom and bust of 2007-8, and then what we have seen recently, some of the cycles on the credit market, and then history is replete with several of those. But the industry has gone from strength to strength, and I'm sure we have a long way to go. Talking about the SBI and the distribution, as the parent says, takes a huge pride. With 450 million clients, 45 crore clients, that they take pride in saying banker to every Indian. At SBI Mutual Fund, we get driven by one dream: can we be the wealth creator for every Indian? As India moves towards much greater financial inclusion, as we move towards a $5 trillion economy, our objective must be that can our industry become the conduit or become the catalyst for ensuring that fruits of those growth are distributed to a much, much larger part of the population. And thankfully, indirectly at least, the participation of pension funds through the ETFs and now a wider market over a period of time, which I expect, I think will also ensure that, that the numbers that Bala talked about, the direct participation through the mutual fund industry and the indirect participation of pension funds participating through the mutual funds will ensure that fruits of India's growth are distributed to a much, much larger set of population, and the growth India achieves will be a very sustainable and inclusive growth. I think the hard work that industry is putting in terms of investor education, in terms
investing somewhere down the line, the underlying person who's invested in that pension fund, which then gets invested in a mutual fund product, actually would start seeing the benefits and come directly also in terms of participation. Is that what you...
Absolutely. And also the economy of scale. Globally, when you look at regulators everywhere believe that it's the investment skill set or a risk management skill set which is in shortage. And how do you get the economy of scale? How do you take advantage of that by ensuring that whether it's the insurance money, the pension money, the endowment money, most of that is managed by the mutual fund industry. And I hope over a period of time in India also we move in that direction so that you reap the full benefit of economy of scale. And also all of that pool of money takes advantage of the skill set that you build in the mutual fund industry.
So, Mr. Kunte, it's good to have a refreshingly outside view because you're not part of our industry. And sometimes being a part of this industry for the number of years we all have put in can corrupt us a little bit. One of the important changes I think that the regulator has brought about is the fact that they are trying to professionalize the entire distribution system. So they are clearly differentiating between people who are just plain vanilla distributors who will give the very basic advice and also the more professional people who will take financial planning as a tool, in which your institute plays a large part in imparting education, etc. So how do you see these changes benefiting a lot of people who would want to become more professional, and how is the institute's role going to become far more challenging in the years to come?
Thank you. I just wanted to, kind of put this thought in front of you. Otherwise, I might not be doing my job. So we are very much part of the industry, but we are independent. So our goal is to.
I'll stand
lead the-
corrected on
Yeah.
that.
So since we are talking about dates, if I don't know how many of you know about CFA Institute. Anybody apart from Nonit and myself, any charter holders here? CFA program. A few hands have gone up. I'm not sure if in the audience people know about the Intelligent Investor. It was written by Benjamin Graham, and it's freely available on the web. And in that, he refers to CFA Institute and the force and the thinking behind forming CFA Institute, which predates back to at least 60 years. So I mean, we've done a lot of work globally, and invest the directionally to your question, Kailash, that what SEBI is doing, it stands perfectly well with our position. We work very closely with SEBI and other regulators around the world, SEC, FCA, and in the Hong Kong as well. So directionally, we are going in the right direction. But one question we may want to ask is, and as people, you veterans in the investment industry ask is, what do you not see? In a photograph, there is somebody in the front, but in the background there's something that is happening. And that background that is something is happening is, what is not being done. What is not being done is the insurance industry. So while we are seeing a lot of changes in the capital market space, in the insurance industries, there's no change. So the arbitrage in between the two types of, I wouldn't call insurance as an investment, that's a basic flaw. But that's where, the training starts, that's where, the education starts. So there's a lack of awareness, there's a lack of retail awareness, there's a lack of professional awareness, there's a lack of institutional awareness, there's a lack of regulatory awareness, where, I hope to work with folks like you and, with the regulatory side and get things
So I
moving.
think one of the government's agenda also in a very significant manner is to provide opportunities for people to earn. They're not talking about jobs, they're talking about livelihood. And obviously RIAs, what is now called investment advisory services, is a way to go, because number one, the number of people who are servicing the potential clients which are likely to come in is very far and few. So professional courses like yours, how are you all gearing up to serve this, and in a way helping the industry also grow the number of advisors in the years to come? What steps are you taking as an industry?
Thank you very much for the question. See, Navneet here is the president of our society. So there are two bodies. One is I get paid for what I do, and Navneet is a volunteer. But through his support, we've got more than 2,500 members in India, and the amount of programming that we do, it's almost one program. I was just thinking about it, calculating the numbers. One educational program every day. And it's not an educational program. So the kind of programming that is happening right now, we call it as armchair programming. We are all relaxed, and we are talking from the stage and people are taking notes. There's a different kind of programming where you make it a little bit intense, like a snack, where you look for a webinar, a podcast, and then you try to influence people like here, people on the stage, they influence the listeners. And then there's finally, there's another type of programming where it's a proper meal, a dinner, where you actually go and learn and give an exam. So we've got all three varieties of this. And what we are trying to, apart from the CFA program, which is a 3-year program, and it's very rigorous, and that's a credential. In India, we found, so I took my CFA program in Japan after 10 years of experience. Whereas in India, you find everybody, and every neighbor, and I get lots of calls. It is there at the entry level, which is probably wrong. But people who are experienced, they should take the program. So we need to create an awareness there. And apart from that, folks here are like really, really good pilots, but we want everybody to become fighter pilots, and we want them to change with technology. Just yesterday I did a full workshop on machine learning with SEBI. So it's a huge opportunity for everyone in the industry and outside the industry, to like gear up. So we are doing lots of programming. We are trying to influence people with the right techniques, and we try to think about only two things, conceptual frameworks and innovative ideas. We are not interested in the whats, we are interested in the whys.
Just to add to Kailash, since CFA is interesting subject of my Navneet, when you were part of us in Birla, we actually put a condition to all my, rather opportunity we gave to all our analysts, saying whoever wants to appear for CFA, we will reimburse that charges to them. It was that time it used to cost about 80,000 rupees. Because all the three levels we passing out will give you, because it enhances the knowledge of the analyst. And you become more current, and the way you look at different from what you are normally used to look at after passing out CA. So that's why we encouraged each one of our investment professional to become a CFA member, CFA holder, and then CFA member. And I'm also quite happy. Navani is now heading that institution now as a president.
So we look forward to next 100,000 CFAs coming shortly on board to help our industry. Swaroop, there's always a debate in this industry, AUM growth and client growth. Up till now, I think we've been focused quite heavily on AUM growth. But I think client growth is equally important, considering that we are way below world averages when it comes to any kind of mutual fund penetration. I mean, we can't even put it on the graph because we just don't feature. You've been, again, on the sales side for a long time. Do you see fundamentally the industry changing and moving towards more client acquisition and client growth, and AUM becoming an outcome? And what steps do you think, and how are the current set of norms that the regulators putting out helping in this progress?
I think you got it right. We fundamentally find it a little bit of a disillusion that, a person is sort of gauged by the AUM, or the industry is gauged by the AUM. India is about people. And finally, it's about how many people invest with us is what matters. Somebody who gives you 10,000 rupees does not mean he has 10,000 rupees. He grows his book only if he gets a good investment experience. And that's where this is the outcome of the AUM which you're referring to. So going forward, if you look at the last 10 years of, say, the distribution base, and correct me, Balasar, Venkata sir, if I'm wrong, when you look at what's happened in the distribution, or the way the money can come to the AMCs, is become double. Earlier, we used to have what is called now the MFDs. When we have the verticals of MFDs, now we have two verticals growing, which is the MFD and we have the RIS. And over and above is direct. Okay, a lot of money which comes into the direct mode comes through RIS, and normally that goes unnoticed. So when you look at the AMC perspective, AMC is getting money from at least double the kind of landscape that used to get just 5 years ago. And that's, I think, a huge shout out to the regulator for formalizing this. And as we grow from what used to be a selling mode to an advice mode, this is the stepping stone. I mean, something which has been referred to as the education level. I definitely see education level being changed at a fundamental level and it has to come from the regulatory side. And I see that happening as on yesterday. Yeah, the reason, since you asked, I'm not an CFA because that option was only given to analysts and not given to the sales guys in Birlas. But I see that as a compulsory. The education level of advisors has to go up, and that is when the accountability of all of us in this fiduciary role comes into play. That is where the real test comes as an industry. We can say that the industry will go up by X, Y. Trust me, it has the potential of growing by 5 times that X, Y. But it comes with a corollary, and I'm speaking with in front of two pedigree fund managers when I get into that. Just the growth of the industry is not in isolation. The growth of the industry, we are a pass-through product, right? The growth of the industry also has to come with the growth of the underlying. There has to be more companies available for us to invest in. There has to be more papers available to us to invest in. So that's where I think the regulator will play a bigger role in expanding that side of the market. We will give you what is available and try to beat that. But that available pool also has to grow parallelly for us to facilitate a growth. Otherwise, what comes, and correct me if I'm wrong, it comes with that big disclaimer that the returns to the client also start tapering down. Okay. So the growth of the industry is not in isolation. Let's look at it. We are, 8,500 crores SIP per month. That is almost 1.5 billion. That is serious money. And that is set to grow. It is growing by month, irrespective of the overall pie not coming. Today, the SIP is a go-to product, okay, for any investor. Suppose it's 2-3 billion per month. Do we have the underlying stocks to really go and invest in is a question, and commit that kind of, or project that kind of returns which we were. If you look at the 10-year return which is there now, is very different from the 10-year return which was just 2 years ago. And that's a factor which needs to be also explored rather than just discuss the growth of the mutual fund industry in isolation.
So do you see a large explosion of number of new customers coming to this industry over the
Yeah.
next 3 to 5 years?
Just look at what the online side has done, and I'll give you some things in perspective, is that today most of us at fund houses, suddenly in the last 3 years, 60 to 70% of transactions are happening in the digital form. The number of new customers that are being added by some of the digital players within 2-3 years of existence is far higher than large distributors which were adding over 10-15 years of existence. That is what the explosion of digital can do, right? And that's where everything changes. I mean, for me personally, life changed when I saw my wife buying vegetables online. That's when I realized that the world has changed permanently. I never thought I would buy vegetables online without checking it, right? But that is the new India. The fear that is, again I get into the other side, is that the product line that we have is probably catering to me and my father. I don't know whether this existing product line caters to my son. And my son will become the larger universe going forward. So just growth in isolation can be a small subject. The product line will change, the inflow of investors will change, and that's good for us as asset managers. We get tested, and that's where the real fun starts, yeah? So, of course, there is an explosion around the corner, but we have to be very careful about handling that explosion.
So, Mr. Venkatesh, SEBI kind of forced the mutual fund industry to pool assets and create something called Mutual Fund Sahi Hai campaign. And we have seen this campaign evolve from just brand awareness generation to much more. Could you throw some light on that and how this is going to work under new regulations, and how do you see this play out in the next few years?
We should really congratulate SEBI on giving that sort of a regulatory change, where 1 basis point from the entire AMC's assets under management comes to a nodal agency, which is AMFI, which is their own nodal agency, to actually take it and create that brand awareness at the initial stage, and then continue that from the brand awareness to the financial literacy part, in the sense that essentially earlier we used to talk about the brand awareness. Now we are slowly moving and talking about the risks of investments. We are trying to say that you can even invest in other products like the retirement products. So definitely the way to go forward is very clear to us. Bala could be the right person to talk about this, because it was under his tenure that we launched it.
And Kailash was the vice chairman.
And
But
Kailash
can
was
I
vice
add
chairman.
just one part of this?
Yeah.
This part cannot go unnoticed without mentioning Mr. Rao in the crowd here. What he's done on this part is all of us put
Tremendous.
together need
It's
to.
tremendous. It's tremendous.
Well done.
In fact, he had the biggest smile when I asked the question.
Yeah, because essentially, I think it's a step in the right direction. Now, they had put a regulatory clampdown for using celebrities. Now they have even given us the exception, in the sense that they have said as an association, you can use celebrities. So we will definitely start using celebrities, which should come maybe 15 days to 20 days down the line. So we are progressing. So the endorsements of the celebrities will also have the eyeballs more, which will ensure that people will get tagged on to the mutual fund Sahi Hai much more. And as a product, as an advertisement brand, I would say that it has actually become much more larger than the parent body, that is AMFI. People now know as Mutual Fund Sahi Hai, and then we'll have to tell that Mutual Fund Sahi Hai ad which is coming, I'm coming from that organization which produces that Mutual Fund Sahi Hai. Earlier you used to know AMFI, now it is becoming Mutual Fund Sahi Hai. So it has really become a bigger, larger than life sort of thing. We are quite, we are very, very mindful of the fact that we have a responsibility to the investor. So that is where we continuously discuss with the market participants, we continuously discuss with the regulator, and produce such types of audio-visual as well as the digital sort of videos which we put out, which gives a clear understanding about what is a mutual fund and what are all the different types of risks associated with the mutual fund, what are all the different products that are there in the mutual fund which can cater to your needs. So all those things are going to come. So I'm quite certain that this mutual fund SAE campaign will be a great success in bringing in newer and newer investors. After we launched, in 2017 March, in 1 year time itself, we brought in actually 50 lakh new investors into the fold. So that is the power of this particular brand campaign which we ran. So I'm quite confident that with this, maybe we should be able to bring in more and more new investors.
So if I have two stalwart fund managers sitting on the panel, I may be permitted a little bit of digression in terms of moving a little away from the topic, but I will surely ask Navneet. Navneet, everybody is concerned about coronavirus, the equity markets, global volatility, and everybody is actually keen to know. So if you get caught outside one-to-one to ask this question, what's going to happen next? I thought I might as well ask it out here. So what's your view? I mean, India is doing very well. Some sectors may be a little up and down, but finally at the end of the day, this is a market which is growing better than rest of the world. How do you see this whole thing play out? And I'm not talking of next 3 months, 6 months. I'm giving a little longer time view for you to take an answer.
Good, because Sarup will say that after talking all about long-term investing, mutual fund sahi hai, and you're asking market kya lagta hai. But on that celebrity thing, they will be there on TV talking about mutual fund sahi hai, but I'm sure everybody would agree that real celebrities are the advisors, distributors, partners over the last few years with fast changing all the changes in terms of regulation, technology, market cycles. And it's difficult to handhold the investor. It's not easy given, the ups and downs in the market and in variety of other things. So they are the real celebrities. Talking about the coronavirus and of course, it's a sad state of affairs globally, particularly in last couple of hours, what has happened in Europe and Korea and some of the other parts of the world. The base expectations as of now is that over the next few days, as the summer sets in China and over a period of time, all the other measures taken by various countries, it should get contained, and over a period of time, another month or two, situation should start normalizing. The positive aspect is that because of the fears about the virus and its impact on growth, central banks would err on the side of caution and are likely to print a lot more money, keep a lot more liquidity in the system, which will help in the second half of the year when China would also start with another set of stimulus along with inventory restocking, and the easy liquidity supported by the central bank should ensure that I think the second half of the year could be good. In the very near term, we have been saying it for last few days, in the very near term, growth can surprise on downside, but maybe I think we are going to have a faster recovery in the second half because of whatever policymakers will do. But you think a little longer term from India's perspective, what we have seen over the last few years in terms of starting with the trade conflict between US and China, between Japan, Korea, some of the other geopolitical risks that got manifested in various parts of the world, India could be a structural long-term beneficiary of, and along with now what has happened in the coronavirus, I'm sure India could be a structural long-term beneficiary of the events that have happened, and it can turn out to be in our favor. And in terms of what we have done, whether the corporate tax rate cut or focus on ease of doing business, a lot of measures to encourage the foreign savings, I think the FDI and the foreign flows can surprise on upside. And that can actually kickstart the private capex that everybody has been expecting for a very long time and which has hit the complete nadir recently. We can actually expect a private capex returning, and I'm sure particularly the rural economy with better monsoon and higher food prices and the other measures by the government can kickstart the consumption growth, and followed by a private capex, which initially will be driven by the foreign money. And as the corporate India gets more confidence, the liquidity which has been unleashed by RBI over the last few months start percolating down. We have already seen the rally in the GSEC and the AAA, and maybe few of the AAA rated bonds, but I'm sure it will percolate down to rest of the other credit markets. I think from second half onwards, we would start seeing a steady growth.
Bala, coming to you, and I'm obviously going to ask you questions of your core expertise, although you've gone beyond the debt part of the market. And we had a speaker just before this, Amit spoke about, various credit. How do you see credit playing out in going ahead? What should people be careful of? How does that play out? And also, after the credit part of it, just if you wanted to add something to the mutual fund Sahi Hai part of it, because it all started with you and me being a part of the committee right at the start.
Yeah. So I think start with the second one first. The mutual fund sahi hai. Sometimes people do ask questions, mutual fund sahi hai na aaj ke din baby? And that question comes. But I think the purpose for which, I still remember the discussion that we had, and we had debated in the AMFI committee, which of course comprising of people coming from rest of the industry. This is one industry which I like AMFI. It's a body which collaborates all members in one room, though we'll all compete with each other. When it comes to the question of servicing the industry, we all come together. That's the beauty of AMFI, the beauty of all the committees that are set up under AMFI. That's why we came with that mutual fund Sahi Hai. The basic theme under which we rolled that out was the mutual fund investment has to be part of the discussion while having a sip of a coffee in the morning or having a chat with somebody over tea. So it should be made part of the discussion that everyone talks across the country. That's one. Second is the mutual fund Sahi Hai has to be driven for the purpose for which you are coming for the mutual fund. It's not about the return and short-term return, market volatility and so on and so forth. How do you ride the market volatility for the long-term investings? So that's why I think we said that long-term investing is must. And third was, of course, the best way to onboard customers on SIP. Sometimes whenever I travel, if you ask some people actually that have you made investment mutual funds, they will initially think about whether at all they have investment. The moment you change the question saying, have you made investment in SIP, the answer will come with a loud voice, yes, I have made investment in SIP. So actually change the way the SIP has been sold to the mutual fund. That's the way I think it's worked well. So I think thanks to the members, though I was driving it, I was supported fully by Kailash as the vice chairman at that time, and then the rest of the members who are part of my committee, and that's the committee approach we did, I think is done exceedingly well. I think coming to the credit market, definitely was 2019, 18-19 was exceptional year. And it actually is, it's so coincided, exactly 10 years back, Lehman Brothers also collapsed in the same time. 15th of September, we had LFS, 25-year-old organization collapsing. That obviously such a large institution who has got linkages with everyone in the financial market, naturally it'll go for a toss. And I still remember the discussion with me and Navneet used to have to give input to SBI chairman who goes and who used to go to Delhi to give a representation when Arun Jaitley was there. We did all such things only to ensure that right input is given to the right people at the center, right input is given to the regulator like RBI and SEBI. And finally, of course, when things went a little bit out of hand, then credit market, of course, went to a toss. I think exceptional year. Number of downgrades that happened in AAA was one of the highest. I never seen the history of credit market in the last number of years. Now, Reserve Bank of India has taken enough steps to ensure that liquidity is provided. The way I think things have evolved, whatever accident that has happened, accident has happened. That of course every market goes through some accident, whether it is the credit market or the equity market. And credit market has seen his own price it has paid. And that an exceptional year, now it's behind us. Probably now as we move forward, credit market will get better. The second aspect which in my view I have seen, I think since the time the PCA bank was introduced, Prompt Corrective Action Bank was introduced by Reserve Bank of India, sometimes I get to hear from bankers, they completely forgot about lending. I was quite surprised to see Finance Minister headline today in Economic Times saying that I am telling all the bankers that you need to touch base with the customers and you need to lend more money, and they are not lending money types. So my personal belief is the last 2-3 years of credit market crisis, people have now started feeling now credit is too much to have and that cannot tolerate and so on and so forth, that people actually moved away from lending and everybody has moved to the high credit quality lending. But there is a space for credit market and there is a space at which one should drive it. I think the earlier section was what he talked about is about how do you put the governance, how do you manage the risk, and every cycle you go through some kind of learning. And the MF industry also learned the learning. Even individual fund houses like us also learned whatever the lesson had to be learned, also have been learned. Now it's coming part of the systems. The moment we do that, my view is I think credit market as we move forward would become the market to look for. I think once you adjust the risk that is associated with such kind of underwriting of credit, or pricing the credit, if those are completely taken care, then credit risk market will definitely pick up. I think US, incidentally, it's a $3 trillion junk bond market, and have seen same kind of ups and downs, and they've survived all those ups and downs and still grown in big. And then beyond a point, who would say no for getting 1 or 2% extra return if it comes along with the risk? I think what is not happened in the case of equity, people are accepting the volatility. In the case of fixed income, people acceptance for volatility is low. But as the mark to market is getting set in, as the regulatory intervention comes in, as the money manager starts understanding the risk much better than what you have seen in the past, and which is an evolving risk, and then on the base of which you actually put it as part of your underwriting, then credit market will pick up. I think the way, just to sum up, risk is, I think the worst is behind us. I would rather assume the next 6 months, you will find hardly any people come to the banks for borrowing big time, and therefore they have to go down the credit line and then start lending money to them.
I think one thing very important is also the regulation that have changed in this regard, segregated portfolio. So today, even if it has gone bad, the original investors can get back the money once it is recovered. So it's not really a loss to the investor. Valuation of securities is getting much tighter. Full mark to market from 1st of April implementation. These are some of the the regulatory norm changes that are happening. I think it's just going to make this whole industry more robust. I think, Swarup, you have a point further on this.
No, I mean, that is the fund management side speaking, but I'd like just to highlight the other side, which is the investing side. And the observation, this is an observation from the flow of money. There is so much of obsession with a very small part, and that leads to so much of distortion in investments. In the last 1-2 years, all we've probably thought of is the credit side of debt, and we probably missed one of the best years of debt investing. Correct me if I'm wrong. The duration return, average industry return is over 15% last year. But who's talking? Okay, now we'll start talking duration after the 15% has come. On the equity side, this obsession with mid-caps, as if there is nothing beyond mid-caps or after mid-caps, is leading to non-asset allocation happening, right? We've probably seen money or returns coming on all sides of the market, and the mid-caps have been supposedly laggards, but who stopped us from investing across, right? This obsession leads to lack of asset allocation, is something which the flows are suggesting. My humble request is, look at the broad market. Debt is not just about credit, it's a small part about credit. So, and similarly, equity is a large side. It is not just about one small pocket about equity. And if you keep both sides or the large side of the market intact, there are investment opportunities at all times of the year, is my only submission.
And
So
just
I
to
think-
add to Swarup, the mutual fund sahi part, we wanted to extend the mutual fund sahi to fixed income mutual fund bhi sahi hai.
Correct.
In order to get the total asset allocation, go between an equity and fixed income so that you can get a better experience over a period of time. Fixed income, that doesn't mean
I think
credit.
this is the perfect place where Mr. Kunte steps in.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Because he's the one who helps get people educated on asset
Just
allocation.
complete Kailash.
Yeah.
Almost it was stuck. I think it was almost finalized. Mutual fund sahi hai, for fixed income was also sahi hai. Was almost finalized. Unfortunately, 15 September of 2018 happened. Had it not happened, then that asset class would also become hugely big positive for the industry. In adding more new customers, most of the conservative customers could have come out of fixed income. In this process, we could have made Indian bond market much better, more robust in terms of size. From a customer point of view, satisfaction, having a mix of both equity and debt would have given a great experience.
But how things have changed. Just 1 minute. Bala and I were managing the fixed income funds between 2000 to 2003. It was almost impossible to get money in equity funds. So just to say, today you have to
No.
advertise
Hey, Bala sir,
fixed
that year
income
we got.
sahi hai. That time it was like 2003 was almost time, and if you tell people equity funds be sahi hai, nobody's going to listen. The rest is history. Next 5 years were the best period for equity funds.
Mr. Kunde, do you want to add something in terms of how the CFA helps distributors at large work on financial models which are far more pro-customer, and what else do you all have to offer as an institute?
So both the distributors and advisors, I think they have got, and folks over here and asset management companies, really it's a difficult task at hand because the canvas for India is so broad So just to add to what Bala was saying about mutual fund sahi hai, and Venkatesh also referred to they don't know about AMFI, but they don't know about that. So we had this society, CFA Society India cycle from Mumbai to Indore recently, and we were going through villages, and we stopped in one of the village, and he said, I'm an investor in mutual fund. हिंदी में मैं भी invest करता हूँ. देखो मैं green fund में invest करता हूँ. So we saw when there's no green fund, how come he's investing in a green fund? So he looked at, no, I mean, this is like November, right? So sorry. So, I mean, it was not the fund that you were referring to, but, anyway, so that particular thing, the way that investor was looking at it was, there was a green color on top of it. And he did not know what he was investing in. So there is a lack of awareness, although he was investing because his boss said that, ye acha hota hai, aap kar dena. So, I mean, so the task for distributors and investment advisors is to not only go and look at what asset allocation means, and what are the different asset classes, what are the risk return profiles, and most of the material that we give is actually free. We are a not-for-profit organization. So if you give any search term and you give CFA Institute, you'll get loads of information. Now, and you can also go to the YouTube. But the other most important thing is, emotional stability. How do you get emotional stability first for yourself and then for your clients? And the last thing is, trust. I don't know if folks in this room know, but we've been doing a survey, a global survey of trust in the financial services industry as compared to other industries. And I don't know if you know that we are at the bottom, rock bottom. And at the top, there are manufacturing services and so on. So people don't trust us. How do we build a trust in the industry, and how can we be, and that all starts with us. If you are more ethical, we could be trusted upon. Thanks.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I think we will stop now. Thank you all for being such a patient audience. I hope there's some inputs that you've had from here that have helped you. But I can only tell you one thing. I have been in this industry on both sides. On the side where distributor, I was a distributor for about 10 years and now a manufacturer for about 15 years. I think this is the best industry to be in. It's a great play if you are in this industry, associated with this industry. But I think one of the ways forward to go is to keep the education level way up, because the customers are going to demand that. So CFA being one of those initiatives which are there. Thank you all once again.
Check. Well, our power panelists, ladies and gentlemen, have said it all. Can we please put our hands together once again? Thank you so much to all the gentlemen and our esteemed panelists on stage. Thank you very much.